Hi guys, I'm your Wildlife, and in this video I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to show you how to paint a butterfly. I don't really paint butterflies very often, it's something a little bit different for me, but I thought I'd share with you my process and see how it goes. I don't really have a plan, I'm just going to make a start. I bought some really cool paints that I thought would look really good for a butterfly, so I've got some of these Studio Acrylics High Viscosity Dyna colours, and this means they're iridescent and a little bit shiny, so I thought they'd be really good for painting a butterfly with. So I'm going to use those three colours, and then I am also going to use some titanium white, going to use some burnt umber, going to use some Mars black, some cadmium yellow or primary yellow, some phthalo blue or phthalo blue, I don't know how you say it, and then some cadmium red. Okay, they're the colours I'm going to use. They're not professional paints, they are student grade or just cheap paints that you get from any craft store, so nothing special. I'm going to be using a variety of brushes. Here they are, and a small cheap palette knife that you can pick up from any craft shop. I'm not really bothered about the brushes, I just like using lots of different ones so I can get lots of different marks. I'm also going to be using this paint roller, or this ink roller, because I like the shapes that you can make using it. Basically, there's no real trick to it, I just like the marks that are made when I use the paint roller. For my palette, I'm just using this small glass palette that I made myself. The glass is actually from an old picture frame. I've just backed it with some cardboard and taped it on the back so that if it does break I don't get any glass on myself. So I will just pause the video now while I just put my colours out. But in fact I'll show you the way that I set out my palette. So I usually start with my black. The black goes there. Then the way that I do it is get my browns after that. So there's my burnt umber. Next is my yellows. So I will get my primary yellow out. There's not much left in these paints, I could really do with some new paints. Then I go for red. Oh, it went everywhere. There's really not much left in the blue, so I'll just give it a little shape. This is going to go everywhere. Oh, I think that's about it that's coming out. Oh, there we go, a bit too much blue, but it's fine because I'm going to paint a blue butterfly. Then let's go with the Dyna colours. So let's go with the dark blue first. It's the iridescent blue. Then let's go for the sort of like turquoisey blue next. And then let's go for the green blue after that, or the green after that, I don't know why I said blue. And then finally, some titanium white over here if it comes out. There we go. I really like this Sennelier Abstract brand of paints. They are probably my favourite paints at the minute. They're quite buttery, they're quite thick, and they've got really good pigments in them. They're relatively cheap, so if you can find any or buy them online, I really recommend getting them. Okay, so there is my palette, they are my colours, that's what I'm using. I have some tissue paper as well that I'm using, and I have some water that I'm going to use as well. Okay, so I'm just using a cheap A4 canvas, it's not very big, just doing a small little sketch, and I've also got my little pot of water. So starting by watering down the paint. I think I'm going to go for a blue butterfly, but I want quite an abstracty background, so I'm going to get a bit of blue very watered down and mix it with a little bit of the red to make a purpley colour, but a more bluey purple. And then make sure it's really watered down. I'm just going to start putting that onto my canvas in random areas. So you see I'm just getting bits of red, bits of blue and some water and just splashing it down, because what I'm going to do in a second is get some of the white paint and go over it to make it a little bit lighter and a little bit more opaque. But I need to make sure that the paint underneath is still wet for this, so I need to be using lots and lots of water. So I'm just adding random shapes, nothing massively complicated. You know what, let's add a little bit of brown in there. Okay, a little bit of brown in that corner, maybe a little bit of yellow over here, a little bit of yellow here, and then get the white. Okay, so all I'm doing, just blocking it in, not too worried about anything at the minute. This is just my base layer, I will go over it later on, but I'm just adding random marks and random shapes. Okay, I'll speed the video up so you don't have to listen to me talk and do all this. Okay, so there's the basic background done. I'm not going to wait for it to dry, but you might want to wait for this to dry before you actually start working on your butterfly. So first of all, I'm going to do a blue butterfly. So I'll start by just drawing in the basic shapes. Oh, one thing to make sure and mention, it's really important to wash your brushes when you're using them. So give them a rinse. Okay, and then wipe them on the paper towels. Don't leave them standing in the water like that. If you leave them standing in the water like that, you'll just ruin your brushes. So, starting off with just the blue, watered down just so it's very light. What I want to do is find the middle of my canvas, because that is where the main shape of my butterfly is going to go. So, okay, I'm not too worried about anything, just blocking it in. That is going to be the shape of my butterfly. Okay, let's give it a little head. There. Okay, now I want to draw the wings. So for the first wing, we want an almost triangular shape. Okay, and then match that on the other side. Okay. So they are roughly the same size. And now for the bottom wings, I want the bottom wings to be a touch bigger. Okay, they don't have to be exactly the same. They can be different. They would be different in real life. They don't have to be perfect, but there's the basic shape of my butterfly. So what I'm going to do is just using that blue paint, just gonna fill it in and block it in. This doesn't have to be perfect. I should probably be using a bigger brush for this, but ah well. Okay, so now I've blocked it in, what I want to do is make it fit into the background a little bit more, and because I quite like abstract pieces, I am going to do that by adding some purple splodges, for lack of another word, over the rest of the picture, so using the ink roller. So all I'm doing, mixing red and blue together with a little bit of white to make a nice purple. So take your ink roller, splash a little bit of water on it, just using a brush, okay, just like that, just a little bit of water, and then roll it over your palette, picking up some of that paint. And then what I like to do is just, I don't really like that head, so that head is going to disappear. Okay, we're just picking up some of that paint and splashing it randomly over the canvas. Again, I'm not too fussed at this stage about what I'm doing. I'm just randomly splashing it down to make interesting marks for later. Okay, we've got the basic shape of our butterfly, and that's all that matters right now. You know what, I like that so much, I'm going to start putting a few more colours down. So I'll just speed up the process and then you can follow along at home. Remember, you don't have to use the same colours as me, you can use different colours. Okay, now what you're going to want to do is wait for this to dry. Okay, so mine is pretty much dry now. It's not completely dry, but I want to get a move on because I don't have much time to do this video. What I am going to do next is mix a little bit of the black paint with a little bit of the burnt umber. That's because I don't want a pure black when I'm doing this. I want it to be slightly brown instead of completely black, because you don't tend to see complete black in nature all that often. So I want to make it as looking as realistic as possible, or as natural as possible. So all I'm going to do is start going around that outline just like this. Okay, we've already drawn it in. Just scuffling along, not bothered about being too neat. Okay, just scuffle, scuffle, scuffle. I'm not too bothered about colours mixing. In fact, I quite like it. Okay, but I'm just putting in a bit of black at the edges of these wings. Okay, so there's one. Let's do the rest. Okay, so next up I want to add a little bit more brown to my black mix and a little bit more red as well. Okay, and what I want to do is just blend it in very roughly into the edges here. You probably can't really see it very well on the screen, but it is a slightly different colour. Just rubbing it in, just quite roughly, not too fussed about it just yet. This is just the first little layer. I will neaten everything up later on. Okay, so there we go. And then the same again, just along the outside of the body. Just like that. Okay, so you can see we're starting to get the shape of a butterfly being formed. So we're going a bit more this way. Okay. So next up, we're going to get a slightly thinner brush, a bit more of a detailed brush. And what we're going to do, just using the black and a little bit of water, is we're going to start drawing in a little bit more detail. So butterflies have veins coming through their wings. So I like to start by picking a point on the top wing and just drawing in one of these, almost like a leaf shape. Okay, just like that. Okay, and then from that, the point, we will draw a line to the edge of the wing. Okay, then from another point, we will draw another line and just neaten it up, add a little bit of curve to it, like that. And again, from another point, and we'll just neaten it up, just like that. Okay, and then from the rest of the wing, what I will do, a little bit lower down, we'll start a new vein. Just like that. Then add another vein there. And another vein there. Right, and then we'll do exactly the same on the rest of the other wings. Okay, and then because I like working with a very dark base layer, what I'm going to do is mix a little bit of the blue with the black and create a very, very, very dark blue, almost black. Okay, and all I'm going to do is rub off most of the paint. Okay, so we don't have much paint, and then I am just going to rub my brush all around. Now, when you're doing this, when you're dry brushing like this, it's called scumbling. So I'm just scumbling that little bit of paint over the top of what I've just done. Okay, just very roughly, not really thinking about it, just making it up as I go along. So while you're doing this, you want to be making sure to leave some of the colours underneath still showing through. You don't want to completely get rid of it all. My paint's still a little bit wet, which is why you're getting the weird white colour showing through, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to be going over it again anyway with my iridescent, my bright shiny metallic colours. Okay, so now we've got some of those colours back in, what I'm going to do again, because I like abstract pictures, is I'm going to use that roller again and put in some of the dark colours into the background of the picture. So some of those blacks and some of those blues. Just painting it on the roller, just rubbing the roller on the palette. Just adding in some of those darker splotches. And you don't have to do this bit, you can just keep it as a nice realistic butterfly, but I like doing these just because I think it adds a little bit of interest to the picture. You know what, I'm also going to add in a little bit of the shiny blue for later. So ooh, I like that. So just adding in some darker bits, some interesting different marks that you wouldn't usually see if you were using a brush. Just adding them in, those weird little shapes, really like them. Not really thinking about what I'm doing. Some of you might be thinking, oh my god, what are you doing? You're ruining it. And yes, more often than not, I do ruin the picture. But it's all a bit of fun. Okay, I'll just go and clean off the roller and let that dry for a little bit. Okay, so that's dry, or pretty much dry. You should definitely leave it to dry 100%. I haven't. What I want to do is start refining the edges of the butterfly a little bit more. So, to do that, I want to have a little bit of brown, a little bit of the shiny blue, and a little bit of white. That's a little bit more shiny blue. So we're looking for a more almost shiny, reddy, grey colour. We'll add a little bit of black as well, just to grey a little bit. Okay, so all we are going to do, water down the brush a little bit, and we're going to start refining the shape of these wings. So let's start with this one. What I want is to just follow that edge. Yeah, just following that edge. The colours won't show up that much. It's just a little subtle hints of colour that will add to your picture. Okay, we'll do the same on the other side. Okay, just refining that drawing a little bit more. Okay, what we'll do at the bottom, or the top of the bottom wing. Okay, so on both sides. We will do it in the middle of the top wing. Just randomly placing it, not worrying about where it is too much. And then we'll start it on the body. Okay. Butterflies' bodies actually have lots of little bits of fur or hairs on them. So if you can make your butterfly look hairy, that'll mean it'll look more natural. Okay, so we want to split it up, so we want our abdomen and our thorax. Okay, and then we split that base part of the butterfly into sections. and then taper it off to a point. I know you can't really see it on the camera, but it is there, I promise, and it will come up clearer later on. Right, and why not, just for fun, let's add a couple of this colour, a bit of this colour, just to the bottom of these wings as well. Okay, not really bothered, but just mixing up my marks a little bit this time. So in the other one I just smudged it on, this time I'm doing little lines. Okay, so our butterfly is slowly starting to take shape. Okay, now I want to make this colour a little bit more pink. So we'll add a little bit of red, and then we'll lighten it up with some white. What we're going to do is just follow those lines that we've just made and lighten some parts of them up. You might be able to see it a little bit clearer now. You don't need to be doing perfectly straight lines, and when your paint starts running out, I quite like that effect where it's sort of like leaving gaps, so I leave it in. It doesn't have to be perfect. Same again. Just near these edges. This might even be just where that butterfly is picking up a little bit of light. Okay, and then round near the edges of the top wings. Just draw it in a little bit. You know what, let's put a little bit near the edges of the butterfly, just to separate it from the background a little bit more. Again, we'll start working on those little hairs of the body, just making it a bit more obvious that this is the body. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, I'm just doing a little abstract picture. Doesn't have to be the greatest butterfly in the world. Okay, you know what? I like this colour, so I'm going to lighten it up a little bit, and I'm going to add a little bit of this colour to some parts of the veins in the butterfly's wings. Not everywhere, just randomly picking bits. You can do this, you don't have to do this, but I like it. Just adds a little bit more of that colour to the rest of the picture. Just roughly doing it, doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to add more colour to this anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but it's nice just going over those black lines, just seeing them pop out a little bit more. Okay, because I like that colour so much, I'm just going to add a little bit of that colour to the background. Not loads, just in random places, just making random marks here and there, just so it ties in. See what I did there? I just used my finger. Feel free to use your finger to blend things in and rub them in. Adds a little bit of you to that painting. Okay, that'll do. Okay, so next up I want to add a touch of red to the wings. So what I'm going to do is get some of the red and mix it with some of the black. Not much, just to give me a nice dark red colour. Okay, so what I'm doing is that red colour. So I've got this dark red colour. And all I'm going to do is pop it down here near the base of the wings. Okay, so as I'm looking at it now, I don't actually like the colour of the background that I've got. So what I'm going to do is this technique called glazing. So I'm going to glaze a different colour over the background, because I like how dark the butterfly's looking, but the background's looking a little bit light for it. So what I'm going to do is get my big brush, I'm going to dip it in lots and lots of water, and then I'm going to make a blue-black mix, very dark blue colour. Okay, and then making sure there's lots and lots of water, all I'm going to do is just brush that dark blue colour over the canvas, just changing the colour of that background ever so slightly. I just think it matches the vibe of the picture a little bit better. Now, you know what, I might even go a little bit darker with it near the top and the edges, and a little bit more reddy to match the colour that we've just put in the wings. So near the top, just bring it down, adding in a little bit more red in places, and again near the bottom, just changing those colours ever so slightly. Okay, I much prefer that now. Okay, so next up I want to start adding some of the details on the wings. So I want to start with an orangey reddy colour. So we get some red, mix it with a little bit of yellow, or a little bit more yellow, and then I don't want it to be quite as saturated as that, so I will mix it with a little bit of the shiny light blue. And what that will do is just grey the orange out a little bit, and then we'll add a touch of white just to make it a little bit lighter. Okay, and then around the edges of the wings, what I'm going to do is just put some little orange spots. Okay, not being too particular about where they go, just putting them down, just adding them where I feel like they should go. I've not been particularly even with that, but it doesn't really matter. Why not? Let's add a little splash of orange there, just because I like it. And then let's add a couple more near the top, but I'm going to change these later, I think. So just add 3 on each side, and then why not, just because it's there, let's add a little bit of the orange up here for that variation and just tying us in. Let's add a little bit here as well, and here. Okay, so now what I want to do is add a little bit more yellow to that mix, and a little bit of brown, and then a lot of white. Okay, we're going to make a very, very pale orangey yellow colour now. What we're going to do is add this to the very base of the bottom wings. Okay, they don't all have to be the same, but we'll just add it just to mark off where the bottom of those wings are. Okay, we'll do the same on the other side. Okay, roughly where you've put your spots, but it doesn't really matter if they're not exactly perfect. And then again, taking that colour, we'll add a couple to the edges of the other wing. Okay, just like that. Because I like that colour so much, again, just gonna add a little bit to other areas of the wing that I feel like it would suit. You know what, while we're here, let's do the rest of that head. Okay, there's the basic shape of that head, and with a little bit of water we will also add some little highlights down to these body segments down at the bottom. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just darken this colour a little bit more by adding a little bit of brown and a little bit of the dark shiny blue. Okay, and then I'm going to start adding some spots to the rest of my wing. Okay, nothing major, just making up where I'm putting them. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, now I want to lighten up those colours a little bit more, so add a little bit more white to them. Just in certain areas, just to break them up a bit, add a little bit more interest. Just to add white in specific bits, not everywhere, just in little bits. Okay. Okay, now we're ready for the shiny colours. So I'm going to start with the dark blue. All I'm going to do, get some more brush, dry it off a little bit, and then add it in to the areas of my wings that I want to shine. Okay, next, just because I like it, I'm going to add a little bit of green. So I'm going to mix a little bit of the shiny green with the shiny blue and add it to areas that I think might like a little bit of the green colour. Next, I want some of the lighter blue. So again, just using the same technique, just adding random bits of the shiny colour over the top of what I've got down. Okay, now what I want to do is just add a touch of white to that blue, just to lighten it up a little bit more and make it slightly more opaque. Might add a little bit of the darker blue just to change the colour slightly. Okay, and I'm just gonna scumble it on just as I have been doing in some areas where I think it needs to be slightly more opaque. Then we'll take some of the darker blue, mix it with lots of the white and a bit of water, and just pick up some areas with the small detail brush. And then just to finish it off, using my dagger brush, just dip it in the water, a little bit of black paint, and we'll give it some antenna. Just like that. And then just because I want to bring a little bit of the darker colours back, let's put in some of the hairs with that dagger brush. And then I am pretty happy with that now. So again, it's just a little sketch, but I hope you like it. Okay, so I think to finish this piece off, all I'm going to do is add some of the shiny colours. I really like this light blue colour. So I'll just add some bits of that light blue colour in random places around the picture just to tie it in a little bit and blend it in with my finger. Okay, I'm not being too picky about where it goes, just making random shapes around the picture just to add that little bit more interest, that little bit more, I'm going to say magic to the picture. Again, you don't have to use these iridescent paints. You could use any paints that you have, but I like the iridescent paints because they give this nice finish to the butterfly. This nice shine that if I hold it up in light so you can see it's got a nice shine to it. That's why I really like these iridescent paints. Anyway, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please make sure to comment below and let me know how you found it. Remember to give the video a like, so give it a big thumbs up, and then to subscribe to Studio Wildlife. Every subscriber really helps, and you guys really mean a lot to us. And remember, if you want more wildlife art tips, please go and head to studiowildlife.com. It's my website, it's got loads of information, loads of blogs, and the more visitors we get, the better. Thanks again for watching.